I get a lot of questions about the gambits that I make, which is, William, I love your gambit. It's so tricky. It's so thorough. I've played this at my level. I've gotten so many quick wins. But, like, does it actually work at, like, a higher level? When you play it, does it work? And, well, there's only one way to find out. And so I'd like to showcase to you guys a few nice wins I've had in the Popiel Gambit. Favorite of mine due to how tricky it is and how fun it is and how you can pretty much get this every single time. For those of you who don't know, you should check out the video right above me. The Popiel Gambit opens with d4 and offering a pawn. So knight f6 they could play, but it would transpose to this anyway. For example, if our opponent plays here d5, takes, and we get this position. Instead of our standard black Mardimer offering this pawn, and which is just generic compensation, nothing really concrete, we play in this position bishop g5. And my opponent played the most common move and the standard move bishop f5, but now is where the fun begins, where we play here f3, and my opponent took the pawn, which is, again, the most common move, but queen takes f3, and now here black is in a lot of trouble with two things under attack, and I am playing here a 2350 something rated player. And here, what black should play, there is a couple of moves, but they have like e6, queen c8, which are less common, but both are better than the most common move, which is bishop all the way back, which is what we had in the game. So after castles here, white has a ton of development, and it's just such fantastic compensation for the pawn. Black is in a really, really tough situation with their king. They need to be incredibly careful in order to survive. And e6, again, the most common move, and you can see here, that's a blunder. d5. I got a great move. I got an exclam here. Black is already in a ton of trouble here, because basically what we want to do is we want to open files, we want to trade off pawns right down the center of the board here where our opponent's king and queen are. Bishop d6, my opponent played the most common move being e5, and bishop b5 check, bishop d7, d6, threatening to take this pawn, trap the rook. If our opponent plays, say bishop takes d6, they will lose some material over here. c6, if we follow all the way down the most common move train, it's to here, and white can basically pre-move queen g3. You can see here how losing this is. h6, queen g3, threatening to take this. In the game, my opponent playing bishop d6. Nothing would have saved them anyway. Knight e4. Lots and lots of pressure on f6. Knight d7. Bishop b5. We've got pins, we've got pins, we've got trades coming, we've got our rook, queen, everything's joining the fight, and black here is just completely overwhelmed. So bishop e7, they could have tried here, but we play here takes. G takes is losing with this check, and this king is just completely toasted. But bishop takes f6 allows us to go takes, so we trade off everything, knight c5, and white is winning a piece is one of the easier ways to finish this game. But here, all of white's pieces are just doing so great. Castles my opponent played, just allowing a very quick win where I just take this knight, take here. Resignation in 12 moves doesn't really happen at my level, but here this was a completely prepped victory. Which is lots and lots of fun to play. You know, they take my knight, bishop takes, another queen's under attack, and anyway, they defend it, they get checkmated. So just very fun victory to open this. I got a 100 accuracy according to chess.com, which I don't know if I've ever gotten before, but it was a completely prep victory, which makes a lot of sense. I got a couple great moves on that, so that was fun, and just an introduction to the Popiel. Now let's go to another game, and this game is against a national master, who is Elite Division verified. All right, let's have a look. Takes. So here we get our same line, and my opponent playing here knight bd7. Instead of bishop f5, the most common move and probably the most sensible one, reinforcing the pawn and preparing e6, of course it allows the f3, queen takes f3, and attacking all the fun stuff. Knight d7. So here we gambit the pawn anyway. And here, this is a better version of the black Mardimer, because in the mainline black Mardimer, black's able to get this bishop out right away. You can see here, knight f6, if we play your f3 right now, takes, they can play here bishop g4, e6, and here white is struggling a little bit more to get some good threats for their pawn. But here, white's doing fantastic because this bishop is not in my way. Queen e2. And here my opponent played this interesting move here, knight d5, trying to propose some trades. Because, if they castle, I'm probably going to castle as well, and probably going to play g4, g5, and use all my pieces here, and all my excellent space to make some very strong threats on the king side. So in the game, knight d5, and now I had the interesting idea to take the knight, allowing them to take the bishop with check, trade, and now g3. I got another exclam for g3, although I think it was pretty standard. So the queen's under attack and needs to defend c7, so it came back home. And now I have a pin here, which was part of the point, allowing me to castle. And here I chose to castle short, because I'm trying to use the f-file. So my opponent played castles. And I'll note here, if they played a move like c6 to try and chase my knight back, pause the video, queen takes e6, which would have been an even more gorgeous finish than I got in the game. But just goes to show you there's always fun stuff going on in the Von Popiel when all your pieces are doing so great and theirs are not. So they played castles, but not to fear. We would get another crazy sacrifice. Queen e4. I got another exclam for queen e4. It's just so fun to play like this. So g6 they had to play to guard h7. Rook takes f7. Brilliant. Brilliant! 2 exclamation points. Okay, let's talk about this. So, okay, first of all, I'm threatening queen takes. So, like here, this is like checkmate. King takes, this is also checkmate in 1. Okay, so rook takes f7, queen takes g6. And now here, black must be very, very precise, and my opponent was not. So, let's say rook g7, queen takes e6, check. Now, king f8 will lose to me bringing all my pieces into the game. Block here are both impossible, so black will lose. King h8 allows me to go takes, king g8, and I believe here just bishop to c4, preparing some strong knight move to get that king. Rook f7 also allows some very fun lines, such as bishop to h7 check. So here black's in a very tough situation, because I think if king g7, there's check, and mate coming, just all sorts of fun lines. Otherwise, I'm just taking this rook, and I just like at least get my material back there. So that, they take this, we take here, and I believe here just rook e1 to play rook e8. Basically the issue black has, so in theory they're at material, but they're not able to use all this stuff because we're just striking so quickly. We're not giving them the opportunity to bring those pieces out. And so there's a couple other lines here, such as, so rook f7, bishop h7, king f8, play takes. If they go onto the e-file, we have this check. Again, they can't use that block. All these pieces are just kind of in the way. Rook g7, rook f1. So all sorts of fun lines here. In the game, my opponent plays king f8 to hold on to it, takes this pawn, king e8, which was the mistake. King e8 was the mistake, so king g8 they had to play, and then Stockfish is just saying just check, check, check. And it's actually just a draw, which is what my opponent should play. However, my opponent plays king e8, and after takes, they immediately lose. So this is lots of fun. So if they played king f8, we're going to go back check, and a lot of these lines maybe are kind of looking familiar, but if king e8, again, we have the e-file now. And again, so if king to g8, I believe we have here, I believe just bishop to g6. Or we give one more check. We give one more check or bishop g6 first. I think it's all winning. Yes, one more check. King back to f8. E1 is interesting. I think this just kind of underscores how helpless black is, because their pieces are just not very useful. Let's say here. Oh, lots of fun tricks. Okay, check. Check. Very, very clever. So we even have this diagonal to use to toast them. So lots of fun lines. I had even prepared more. I didn't even, I guess, remember everything. But this is not looking good for black. So king e8 was played in the game takes. My opponent plays here rook e7. And after checks, that's actually mate on the spot, because if knight f8, I have knight f6 for another gorgeous, gorgeous finish. A very, very fun attacking game with another sacrifice here. So now we will look at one more game get you more into the Von Popiel spirit. This one my opponent played the best, actually. And here, I think I kind of forgot the order, but it doesn't matter. This did transpose. So let's say here, bishop g5. So this might arise a lot, because here bishop g5, your opponent can play knight d7 or e6 here, and it's going to transpose, and we should know how to play these positions as we got in the game. And black should know here, particularly if they play b6 with the knight back here. Imagine this knight's here, and they have to play bishop takes f6. Then they would lose. If they can't put a knight there, then they are too many threats here. So that's a cool little trick. My opponent did not quite fall for it, because here they're playing bishop b7 before castling. And now here, I want to recommend a better way to play, which is h4 and knight d7, knight e5. So this is just really, really pressing on them hard, because now if there's knight takes e5, there's d takes e5, and with bishop takes h7 check ideas threatening to win the queen. So knight e5, it's very, very hard for black to even move around, actually, at this point. And white's idea is just going to be rook h3, rook g3, and with a ton of pressure here. The more you run the engine, the better it thinks this position is for white. So lots and lots of fun. Very, very good compensation for the pawn. I did not play this the best. I play here g4. G4 allows for black to just keep bringing this out. I believe, yeah, knight d5 is a good idea, proposing this trade. So g4, like I'm trying to play g5. What I really want, it's really kind of bait. I want them to take my pawn. I want to sacrifice more because I really want to use these open files. We're castle on opposite sides. I want to open up files and allow my rooks to attack really, really well. So knight d7, but rook g1 I'm playing anyway, knight d5. So my opponent plays this very, very well. Knight takes d5 was not even a good move on my part. But here I think black has already kind of solidified a little bit. Because, you know, I'm playing g4, but it's not accomplishing anything. This knight's already out of the way. So takes, knight e3. But the fun has not been drained from the position yet. My opponent's still playing well. I'm sacrificing another pawn. Now here, I want to play rook h1, of course, so I'm blocking this. And now what black should continue to find some precise defenses. They should get this queen out of the way, allow rook h1. So my bishop and rook coordinate there, but they can play your h6. I mean, my dream, of course, is to play g5 and to like keep opening these files and keep putting a lot of pressure, which is tough to defend in a blitz game, even if you know, Stockfish hates this position. Oops, Stockfish hates this position for me. Here, my opponent though slipped up. Finally, you know, you keep putting pressure, eventually they'll slip up. Knight e5. So they want to trade off for this bishop because they see, you know, my threat's coming. Rook h1. So d5 was able to block this bishop. I'm able to play rook h1. I got an exclam for it. And now my opponent realizes, okay, if I take this, my queen still has to move. And, you know, they put a queen there. That's even worse than a bishop if I take on h7. However, black has some crazy defense here. They can play here c4. So it's tricky. If queen takes c4, now, of course, their queen can move. There's no threat on h7. If I play here knight takes c4, they can also move because that's check now. And then otherwise, like if I try to stay on this, they can take, like they can keep like distracting me or something, I think is the point. Like they can keep attacking my queen, throw in enough intermezzos and get away with it. And after c4, I believe it's like evaluated equality somehow. Yeah. But alas, my opponent did not see that because defenses are really hard to see when you keep putting pressure. So queen e7, a blunder. And I'll let you guys maybe try and pause the video and finish the game here. Check here. And more exclamation points for me. I love those exclamation points. Rook h8. Checkmate coming. Takes. Queen h2. No blocks on the h file. Queen h7 next turn. So I hope you guys love the spirit of the Von Popiel and all these gambits. My gambit lovers, lovers of this channel, I really appreciate all the support. And I will see you next time. Peace out, gambit lovers. Like and subscribe.